Hello, I'm Czardus, and today we are going to go through all of the maps in the Financial District's DLC, so be sure to stick around if you want to see what the maps are like in that DLC. So, first up we have Grey Waters, which is a boreal map, and you can see it has a ton of water. So anytime you're building in here, you are going to be building a lot of bridges and perhaps ferries if you have mass transit. But it is interesting. This is the start square here, as you can see, and you can start there and then you can build out in either direction here. Now, taking a look at resources, we have a little bit of farmland. There actually aren't very many resources on the map. You have a little bit of oil in there, a little bit of ore. Oh, more oil and ore in there too. So, I mean, you have enough that you can do whatever you want, but it's not going to be a resource-heavy map. Now, what we are looking at, again, is a few different things here. We've got the start square. You have a lot of flat land that you can build on here. You have a nice little stone circle here that is a nice little detail. And it's kind of in the... it is in the start square, so you can build with that. It's not a detail that is outside of your area. Like some of these, the factory here with the pier, that old factory, and an old shipwreck there too. That is a nice little touch. Over here we have a castle as well, which is pretty much at a good location strategically, I think. I mean, I assume this is a river. No, look at that. It is ending there. So maybe it wouldn't be a major strategic point. Got a few castles, actually. Here's another one over there. So, anyway, yeah, there are various things to do with this map. And is there anything else I want to talk about here? We've got terrain. We do have all four connections. So you've got rail. You can see the rail over here coming through. And then you've got the road. Of course, the road connects in here, 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 and here. This is actually built very well for vanilla players because it can any traffic going through the city will probably avoid your start square, so that is very good and that can help you as you are building. But anyway, let's go take a look at some of the others. So next up we have Narrow Passage. This is another interesting map. This is a temperate map, and you can see it has one highway that goes through and across this one narrow passage, aptly named, and then over that way. You've also got rail that comes through and then ends here. I don't think we have rail on the other side. Oh, we do over here. Okay, so there is rail in there, and then of course this is your start square here, and that has a lot of farmland around it. Let's take a look at the resources. We've got farmland there that you can build on, or like you can use for farming. If you want to expand, this one would be a little bit tricky if you're playing with only 9 tiles, because I mean you have plenty of space. Don't get me wrong, there's plenty of space to build over here. There's tons of buildable area, but you would have to make some strategic decisions. Do you continue out in this direction and make your way to the mountains, or do you go across to get some ore over there? Because like I said, there is ore over here and in the mountains, and a little bit a little bit of oil along the water. So the oil is actually used to paint a little bit. You can see the texture color is a little bit different there to give it a little bit of a different detail in there. Now the terrain wise, we are, like I said, pretty flat in here. Not too much. You do have a bit of a couple mountains over there, and then these are some really deep lakes in there. So that is one thing, and then you've got a couple islands that you could go to. If you are playing with 81 tiles, you could build a really big city on both sides of this, and it would be a challenge to manage your traffic going across the middle there. But that is the Narrow Passage map. Let's move on to the next one. I am so excited to partner with Apex Gaming PCs to bring you a custom line of gaming PCs named after some of my most popular series. I've worked with their team to put together an amazing setup for playing games like Cities Skylines. There's a link to see the full line in both the description below and the pinned comment. Oh, and be sure to use the discount code Czardus to receive up to $250 off your purchase. And next up, we have River Terrace, which is another boreal map. And you can see we've got this major river coming through, and it is called River Terrace because we have a little mesa in here where the land is up above, and you can build on here. This is actually your start square. And interestingly, instead of having you've got this bluff here, and then you've got the highway down there separating the city from the river, of course, but the entrance is way over here, and then you have to go on that long pathway into there, which is, I don't know, just a little interesting thing about this. Now, again, we have all four connections. The highway here comes in 1, 2, and 3 spots, but because anything coming through from one part of the map to another is going to go through here, this highway will end up getting a bit of traffic. Now, the rail, you've got one rail over here, and then you've got another rail over here, I believe. Yep, there it is. So you've got 2 rails. Either one, you have to choose. If you're playing with only 9 tiles, you're going to have to make your way to a rail in either direction if you want to use the rail. Now, you probably have a ship path in here, and in fact, I think I saw a ship a moment ago. Yeah, there's a ship. So there's a ship path coming through here, so you can work on getting a cargo port somewhere as well. But this one would be a little bit of a challenge because, again, you've got buildable area in here, but you have to get off that island in order to really expand farther. And part of your bluff is obstructed by the highway and the cliffs, so that is one thing to keep in mind. The natural resources, we have a bit of farmland on the start square, and then a little bit farther away, and oil and ore as well a little bit farther away. So you do have the resources that you need, but it would be a little bit of a challenge to get to some of them. So that is one thing to keep in mind. And let's move on to the next one. And next up, we have Windblown Coast, which is a tropical map. And this one is fun. It's a desert map. And my favorite feature is these little islands over here. We've got fish-shaped islands and then a fish skeleton over here. So zooming out, you can see it's really fun. It's like this little school of fish. And speaking of fish, let's take a look and see what fish there are if you're playing with Sunset Harbor. Of course, the one thing about Sunset Harbor is it's really easy to get shellfish and anchovies, but on a map it is harder to get salmon, which are a little bit in here, and of course tuna are super hard to get on a map. So that is just one thing to keep in mind. But your start square is over here, and the road goes through from one side to the other, and that is the only road. So of course that will get traffic coming through the map. Rail, you've got a rail out here, and you have this huge flat space in here. And I love desert maps. They are so much fun to look at, and they're very different from what you probably normally play with. But looking at natural resources, you've got a big oil reserve in here, which is really good for a desert map. And then, of course, you've got a little bit more elsewhere, too. But then you've got a little ore and just a tiny bit of farmland. You're probably not going to get much farms, but it does make sense that they might be over by this little bit of water. So that made sense. Out of the maps that we've looked at so far from this DLC, I think that Windblown Coast is the star of the 4 that we've looked at. Terrain-wise, you are very flat in here. You can build a nice big city in there, and then you have the backdrop of the mountains. If you are playing with 81 tiles, you could do some fun work out in there too. Now, one thing, there's probably a water source in here, so you might be able to get a hydroelectric dam here, which might provide at least some power there, which would be good as well. But yeah, that is it for this map. Let's move on to the last one. All right, and the last map in this bunch is Wyvern Pass. It is another tropical map, but you can see it's a little bit different from the other ones. Tropical, it gives the sand way down here, but it is really up high on lots of mesas. So if you are going to build, first of all, your start square is over here. You can build up there, and then you can make your way down to the ground, or like to the, I mean, all of it's the ground, really? Right? I mean, yeah, but anyway, you can make your way down to the shoreline there, but you also may end up having giant bridges across if you choose to do that. And in fact, they have done that in one spot. Here it is. The rail comes across here in one giant bridge crossing that ravine, which does make sense because the rail would not want to go down and come back up, so that would be a wise investment. Now, the road is actually one that comes from here to here, and then it has one long spur that goes to your start square, and then you've got rail that goes over here. So if you want to go to rail, you have to go out in that direction from your start square and maybe come down here. I mean, you could get a road that comes down and around here and across. That might work and be a good way up there. Or there are a few spots where it would make sense for roads to make their way up the cliffs and stuff like that. But let's go ahead and take a closer look at the terrain. Again, you can see that we have a little bit flat here, and we really have a lot of space to build. You can come out this way before you go too far if you want to, and then you also have, of course, the other mesas you can go up and build on, or you could just build down in the valley. It's up to you. It's your city that you can be building. Natural resources, we have a lot of ore on this map, a little bit of oil, and of course a little bit of fertile land and forestry as well. So that is this one, and I think, I mean, you've got a ship path over here. It probably does not go into the river, so your port would have to come in over here, which would be a bit of a challenge. Let's take a look at that really quick. Yeah, you've got a ship path over there, so you'd have to make your way that way to build a port, but it could be done. So anyway, thanks for watching. On the screen now is another great video with different maps that you could look at, so be sure to check that out. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you next time. Take care.